Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be continuing with the Gloomspite Gits, picking up with the Soul Wars. Gorka Morka is an agent of random destruction whose rampages wreak havoc on the carefully laid plans and grand schemes of the other gods. In this, the Gloomspite Gits follow their deity, and as the sweeping campaigns of the Soul Wars have developed, the Grot's interference has caused all manner of mayhem. Through the ages, the mortal realms have seen terrible conflicts. Wars beyond imagination have shaken reality to its foundations. More beings have been slain in bloody battle than could ever be tallied. Now, through the incredible artifice of Nagash, self-proclaimed god of death, those war-slain legions rise to assail the living. The great necromancer is motivated by a desire for revenge, for he believes himself irrevocably wronged. Long ago, Sigmar promised Nagash rule of Shyish, and ultimate ownership of every departed soul in existence. In life, mortals could strive and fight as they wished, could seek whatever ends, and pursue whatever goals they so choose. Yet upon their demise, when their souls found rest in whatever underworld their culture and beliefs had created, they would belong to Nagash in perpetuity. Instead, Nagash watched as the gods of chaos devoured or corrupted souls that he regarded as his. He saw the elven deities stealing away souls for their own purposes, refashioning their lost race with energies that were Nagash's by right. Worst of all, he beheld Sigmar's faithless betrayal as the God King snatched up the mightiest heroes at the moment of their deaths, and transformed them into eternal warriors, for whom true death was no longer possible. Nagash gave no sign of his fury at these developments, for he is as cold as the grave, as somber as unfeeling stone. His anger was instead an icy and monolithic thing. His vengeance as slow and creeping as inevitable doom. Though his plan took centuries to come to fruition, at last it saw him fashion a vast black pyramid of harvested realm stone, and plunge it into the heart of Shyish. Had Nagash succeeded wholly in his ritual, it would have torn the souls from every living thing in the realms, and transformed them all into his mindless servants. Yet creeping Skaven corrupted the ritual at the last moment. The power unleashed overwhelmed even Nagash, blasting back into the realms and loosing a tide of rampant undeath and wild magic. Now endless spells rage across the landscape like predatory entities, while entire campaigns are fought for possession of mortal souls and the means to entrap, release, fashion, or devour them. These are the Soul Wars, a new and terrible age that may yet see the mortal realms reduced to lifeless wastes. Agents of misrule. So vast and terrible was the scope of Nagash's schemes that, as they neared fruition, they stirred the very firmament to madness. Weird omens, grim prophecies, and all manner of dread portents were sighted across the mortal realms. Seers and prophets ran mad through the streets. It was during this bleak time that the Bad Moon's erratic journey through the void became a headlong rampage. The Gloomspite hordes were stirred into frantic motion as never before. since the Grots went on the warpath, they have shown no signs of relenting. The worshippers of Gorkamorka were not immune to the strange tidings and rising mania that gripped the other gods' followers. Fungoid cave shamans devoured acrid death-cap mushrooms, and in doing so witnessed visions of a battle to end all battles. Upon their urgings, countless hordes of greenskins and ogres rampaged into the realm of death and made for Nagashizar, the seat of the great necromancer's power. So great were the number of tribes that swept down upon that bleak city that, had it not been for the madness and misrule that turned Nagash's enemies against one another at that critical juncture, they might well have prevented his scheme altogether. Gloomspite Gits were present amongst the masses that descended upon Nagashizar, but they were comparatively few. Rather than dash madly to where the fighting was thickest, the Grots instead turned their attentions to where they believed they could best stab their enemies in the back, while all others' attention was upon Sheesh. They sought signs of the bad moon's onset, and slunk through the shadows to attack wherever their victims were looking the other way. In some cases, the Grots' invasions were premeditated, sneak attacks and ambushes launched by devious war leaders keen to draw the bad moon's eye. A Gloomspite horde surged up through the mine workings beneath the city of Celestrius, even as its defending garrison of Stormcast Eternals from the Celestial Lions Stormhost marched through the black dunes outside Nagashizar. Led by the squig-riding loon boss, Zigskrat, the teeming horde overran the Free Guild soldiery who had been left to watch over the city. Shrieking Grots ransacked Celestrius's merchant quarter and burned the Temple of Sigmar, while over 100 Troggoths lumbered unstoppably through fusillades of fire to tear down and eat the city's Stormkeep stone by enchanted stone. When Zigskrat set light to Celestrius's grand armory and blew its powder stores sky high, the bad moon waxed large in the skies, drawing close to watch the riotous ruination below. Driven into a fungus-fueled frenzy, the Gloomspite hordes butchered or enslaved every living thing in Celestrius, and left nothing but a mushroom-covered mountain of damp ruins in their wake. Equally notorious were such conflicts as the ambush of the Cogfort Imperius, the abduction of High Mage Thendrasil and his entire entourage, and the under-siege of Mulkir Lodge's Magma Hold. Yet, for all the direct and intentional invasions launched by the Gloomspite Gits during the opening stages of the Soul Wars, the sudden tides of Grots caused as much, perhaps more, damage when they chased the bad moon straight into the heart of other people's wars. The evercrawl. Amongst the myriad underworlds of the realm of death, there is a land of whispering web silk and skittering legs where the spirits of slain arachnids scuttle and crawl. It is a place of endless dangling larders waiting to be drained, of gloom-shrouded forests, rotting ruins, and teetering stone pillars, honeycombed by uncountable nooks and tunnels. The shades of spiders inhabit every corner and cranny, seethe in swarms many miles across, drift through the air upon gossamer strands, and lurk in the gloom, growing ever larger as the ages pass. The Spider-Fang Grots know this place as the Evercrawl, or sometimes the Land of Endless Web, and to them it is paradise. They believe that the spider god makes its nest in the deepest depths of this sacred haven, surrounded by the cocooned bodies of demigods it has caught in its metaphysical webs. Moreover, they claim that the spider god's numberless brood watch over this arachnid underworld, and that their wrath is terrible to behold. Known as Skitterstrand Arachnaroks, these arcane creatures spin their webs from the silken threads of mortality itself. They pick their way through sprawling weaves of life and death, feeling for the telltale vibrations of powerful soul magic. Able to fashion temporary realm gates of funneled soul web with their sorcerous spinnerets, Skitterstrand spiders burst through the skin of reality without warning to pounce upon their prey and drag them screaming back into the evercrawl. There, they feast upon them at their leisure. The spider god's brood are not mindless predators. They understand the dire threat that Nagash and his ambitions pose to all the underworlds of Shyish, and though they care nothing for the wider realm, they will protect their lair at any cost. So it is that the Skitterstrand Arachnaroks strike most often at those who wield sorcery, especially the magics of death. They also snare lost or stolen souls in their webs, trapping the essence of Stormcast, Ghast, and Elfkin alike, and slowly draining them, leaving behind barren spirit husks. The best laid plans. As the bad moon slid through the skies above the mortal realms, so Gloomspite Gits hordes burst up through mine workings, cave systems, and the lowest levels of countless supposedly impregnable fortifications. They flung preparations into disarray. They overran garrisons readying themselves for besiegement and armies massing for war. They cast down great idols and temples to the gods, and so denied their builders divine favor at crucial junctures. They erupted into the midst of desperate battles between the forces of chaos, order, and death, snatching victory from commanders who had assumed themselves triumphant, and massacring those who believed that they had, against all odds, survived the worst their enemies could hurl at them. Soon, the onset of the bad moon became a dread omen. Its pallid glow spread madness, and wherever its bloated shadow fell, an invasion of grots was sure to follow. Many great commanders bade their followers to determine the bad moon's nature, or to predict its madcap course. The sacrosanct chambers of the Stormcast Eternals, the mages of the Eldritch Council, the gaunt summoners of Tzeentch, and the Slan Star Masters, all attempted to divine patterns in its behavior. A particularly ambitious coven of warlock bombardiers from the Skaven clan's Scryer even hatched a plan to shoot the bad moon down with a suitably immense warp rocket. Such a thing had been done before, the Ratmen claimed. None met with success. Only the depths of their failures varied. Those with sufficient willpower were left frustrated and raging, their energies wasted and their efforts confounded by the sheer illogicality of the bad moon's movements. Many were driven mad. Warscryer citadels burned after their occupants lost their minds, and sought self-immolation as a way to escape the leering moon that devoured their sanity. Wizards and prophets alike found new quarters in the bleak cells of Azurite asylums, these victims ranting and howling of a bloated moon that grew ever closer, but never fulfilled its final threat to devour their souls. Deep within Blight City, an experimental rocket lab detonated with devastating effect and left half of Clan Ectric's holdings in flames. Still, the bad moon swept on. Still, the Gloomspite hordes surged in its wake, and destruction reigned. The clammy corners of the realms. Many of the races throughout the mortal realms seek to claim strategically dominant or resource-rich lands to fortify and exploit them. By comparison, while the Gloomspite hordes overrun and tear down such places with great glee, they have little interest in settling the surface lands. Their darksome lairs lie elsewhere. Moon Clan grots, Spider Fang grots, and their vast arachnids, Troggoths of many weird sorts, even the more alcohol-sudden and perpetually hungover gargants. All of these creatures seek cool, damp darkness with as much eagerness as do squirming grubs and pallid fungi. Their settlements and strongholds inevitably accumulate in the dankest, gloomiest parts of the realm. They prize those regions that most dismiss as fetid, worthless wasteland. Too dark or soggy to grow crops in, too fractured and unstable to raise dreadholds or stormkeeps upon, crawling with parasites and choked by miasmal fumes. Such lands rarely catch the notice of the realm's other races. Thus, unless their sporadic raiding stirs retaliatory purges from more settled lands, the Gloomspite Gits are left largely to their own devices. They multiply and gather their strength unseen and ignored. Grots have long valued their enemies' tendency to overlook or underestimate them, for it is a powerful weapon in their arsenal. More than one supposedly mighty kingdom, accomplished in driving marauding armies from its borders and conquering neighboring lands, has vanished overnight after the bad moon rose in the sky. Such places are overrun as teeming hordes of creatures previously thought to be mere vermin or figures from frivolous children's stories, spill from the damp darkness to bury their enemies in a shrieking tide. Many cultures have cautionary folk tales of red-eyed gibblers, clammy-clawed lurks, and Grody the Blackcaps erupting to commit murder and spread mayhem. But all too many rulers dismiss them as old wives' tales until it's too late. And I think that is where we are going to bring this video to a close. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. So far, these guys are really fun. They capture a lot of the magic of night goblins. I'm assuming that there's another book for the forest goblin tribes. I haven't been able to find one, so I don't know if it exists. They might be packed into this one, but this stuff feels kind of like earlier Greenskin stuff, like 4th, 5th edition, where the writers were really interested in flavor, oftentimes to the detriment of actual gameplay, but in my opinion, that's what makes tabletop games fun, is the flavor, rather than balance or anything like that. So, yeah, I hope you guys are having as much fun with this as I am. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.